Hello and welcome to Insano's Games. I just wanted to do a showcase of my World of Warcraft account. I've been playing since right around when the game first came out. My uncle picked it up before I did. I hadn't really given it too much thought, as back at the time in 2004, even earlier in 2002 and 3 when I'd heard about it being worked on, I was pretty sketchy about it, as I'd never ever played an MMO before, and the idea kind of wasn't my cup of tea, I guess you could say. But eventually I took a liking to the game. My uncle picked it up, and his copy came with a free 3 months for a friend, so he gave that to me, and I played it up until February of 2005 when the free 3 months ran out and I was prompted to pay to continue, so I did, and I've been quite enjoying the game ever since. Yes, it's had its ups and downs for sure, but yeah, since I've been playing this game for a very long time, I haven't been super hardcore about the game, but I do have a lot of interesting nostalgia items on my account, and I've played a fair bit. As you could see by some of my characters on here, I've got several 100s or more on my primary account of Elder Thalos. Closer to the bottom, it's just a few random trying out of some, what are they called, allied races. Haven't logged in though in the last two months, I think, as I've been quite busy recording other games for the channel. I'll just go ahead and log into my dwarf hunter named Blunderbuster. I just thought it was a quirky name to give him at the time. I figured, you know, dwarves like to use blunderbusses, and I don't know, I figured Buster was a kind of goofy name to give him, but I couldn't get the final letter, so I just called him Blunderbuster. Yeah, it's not a very good name. Later on, I started to give them a little more RP-ish type names, I guess you could say, actually naming them something that would sound a little more realistic. I can't think of anyone naming a dwarf Blunderbuster. Hopefully the load time isn't too long. My old computer started to chug along pretty badly, and this load time could be a few minutes. I've since picked up a newer-ish computer, which it's a little more faster processor speed and whatnot, so it should hopefully help out. Not sure how much of it is client end compared to server end for the loading. I think it is mostly client end, actually. Feel free to just fast forward through the loading areas when I switch between characters. Ah yes, War Mode. What is it, 15% extra bonus XP? And I've got some quests to do and whatnot. They've reset the talents. I'll just close a few of the old apps that I always use. Well, first I'll move it down to the corner where I usually keep it. I'll deal with my talents and stuff later. Alrighty, yeah, I'm only level 100 on my hunter. He was my first character ever. Thought it'd be kind of neat to play one of these. And I've been playing so much Dragon Age lately, I was about to right-click to move. Although I think that actually is an option in the game. Ah, this takes me back. Rizashi coins and Hakari coins. Anyone who's an older school vanilla WoW player will remember these coins for farming up Zandalari rep and for unlocking certain epic items that were associated with that rep when Gurubashi first came out, or Zul'Gurub, that's it, that's what it's called. Some account bound stuff. I think this was from, well, that's Darkmoon Faire, I guess it says. But I think these are done from archaeology. Some old stuff. Oh, I can get rid of that, since toys are automatically added now. My hats and whatnot. Royal Seal of Elder Thalos. This was the upgraded version, I believe, of an Argent Dawn item that you got when you hit the Western or Eastern plague lenses when you first got it. This was actually quite helpful back in the day. I guess I think it was undead attack power that it granted you, or spell power, etc. Salt shaker. I think that was a leather item. I think you had to use something like that for curing leather. I can't exactly remember. This is one of those rep items that you would get with the coins. So it was part of a small set, and of course sets have pretty much been done away with now at this point. Leatherworker's satchel, etc. Ah, this is left over from, I'll explain in a little bit what that was all about, why I had shadow protection potions. Drakefire amulet. Oh, what the heck was this for again? This was for, it was like a key, I think, maybe, to get into a certain dungeon. Unlike the Onyxia Scale Cloak, which I know was needed for, Nefarian. Some nature protection, I think that was needed in Zul'Gurub for some of the bosses. Some more of that set. Now I have Rockdalar and Lockdalar. Oh man, that was a fun quest chain to do, but a royal pain. You had to kind of do everything by the numbers, and hopefully no one else tried to be helpful and lend you a hand attacking whatever boss you were trying to kill, otherwise it would just despawn. But at the same time, it was funny, he would actually kill the person trying to help you on occasion, just flat up murder them by doing 1 million damage to them. And this was back at a time when max health for a lot of characters was around 10k. Ah, Argent Commission, yes, I think that's what it replaced. It actually gave a... This ended up replacing the Argent Commission once you hit a high enough reputation, and it actually came with a bonus finally. Because you had to sacrifice a trinket slot for this. But anyways, for these two items as part of the big hunter quest that started from the loot box from Major Domo Executus, one of the major bosses in Silithus, he put a fear on you that did shadow damage, and if you used this potion, back at the time it lasted, I think, for a full hour instead of 2 minutes, and the patch hadn't dropped yet that limited how many times you could use potions during combat. Now you can only use one potion per combat. So if you're in combat for 1 minute, you gotta wait for it to cool down and then you'll use it again. But if you're in combat for a full hour against, like, say, a tough raid boss or something, then you will not be able to chug another potion at all unless you break combat somehow. And this came in handy for negating the shadow damage accompanied by that fear effect. Along with other things that you could do, like one of the cheesy ways to beat that fight was to duel a warlock. Have them put a certain curse on you that made it so you couldn't be feared, but you took extra damage in some form, I think. So as long as you couldn't be feared, and this negated the shadow damage almost, or at least, you know, absorbed most of it, then you could pretty much cheese that whole fight. And I think I did end up having to do that. I think I attempted him 8 times, and my first ever attempt was my closest by far. I think I got him down to 3% when he finally got me, and I was just getting royally pissed off at the difficulty of fighting him. I think that was Franklin the Friendly who's out there in Silithus. And yeah, I eventually was just like, come on, this is my last guy. I really want Rockdalar and Lockdalar. And I always really enjoyed these items. They were unique looking. No other bow in the game looked like this and had the animation of all the growth on it popping in here and there. And then the staff, though, that one's pretty plain looking in a way. Yeah, it's just like this taped together 3 pieces of wood with a nature glow on it, nature enchantment. But still, at the time it was a decent stat stick when you could equip them both at the same time. Pretty sure you can't do that these days anymore, yeah. Like I said, I haven't played in a while. What else have I got in here? Nothing else on this character at the moment. Oh, yes, that was from, Warlords, I guess. Yeah.
See you soon.
Yeah, I've been playing him for quite a while. May as well, while I'm on this character, is show some legacy achievements, I guess. I have the Ancient Keeper. Some of these are not so legacy, I guess, not so old. Dual talent, etc. When you had to purchase the extra one. Ah, yes, my priest also has Benediction and Anathema. Did that mini event. I used to do Brawlers Guild a fair bit. Back when people still were required to raise up skills to use an item, or in this case just unarmed. But nothing like, say, playing a warrior or a rogue or something like that and getting a brand new weapon that's a nice upgrade, but you've never used one of that type before, and your skill is at 1 out of whatever you were in for the expansion, and then you couldn't even use it during that dungeon. You had to go and level it up once you were done. And I did complete back in the day to get my Paladin Charger. Took me a while to get the cash I think you needed to start this whole thing for the Swift Flight form. And I never did get the Warlock mount back in Vanilla because I never actually played a Warlock until Vanilla was almost done. Like, it took me a long time to roll up a Warlock. Got some of these classics here. I wonder if they have the one in here about the Aquil Quintessence. I remember people always having to leave the raid to go get a new Aquil Quintessence, and then they eventually made the permanent one, or maybe it was always there and you could just only get it when you were exalted with the Hydraxian Waterlords, etc. Don't know if that's in here, but did a lot of Zul'Gurub back in the day. Guess this would be gone now, huh? I haven't, like I said, haven't played in a bit. I think first aid's been removed, hasn't it? I used to do a fair bit of PvP, but my thing was I didn't do a massive amount. As you could see, Master Sergeant was as high as I ever got. I never did a massive amount of it, but my thing was mostly Alterac Valley. I loved the old Alterac Valley that went for quite possibly days on end. And I know you can get more out of it these days with the shorter run and whatnot, but I don't know, it just had a lot of appeal to me back in the day with the huge battlegrounds and everyone working together as a big, massive team to farm up everything you need to summon your big bosses and stomp across the battlefield. And when both bosses were summoned, holy crap, that was quite the battle down at, usually in the center field there. Stonekeeper's shards. I think those were from Wrath of the Lich King, weren't they? From Winter Grasp. That was my all-time favorite PvP location in the game. I loved the destructible castle at the very end, and the towers and whatnot, and the siege equipment you could get, and even the dungeon inside for the victors. And I've always wished they would bring that back, but they just kept pushing other ones like Barad Hold and Ashran and stuff. I don't think those hold a candle to Winter Grasp. I just loved the big giant battlefield and siege of a castle. I'm really hoping... I haven't looked up much information on Battle for Azeroth, but I have heard that there's going to be these back and forth sieges, and I'm really hoping they bring back the feel of Winter Grasp. I really do. And then... yeah, just a few of these random things. I'll quickly go into feats of strength. That's easily achieved now at this point. Oh, that was something that took me a while. And I think even by 2013 that was nerfed a fair bit. Got my Epic Brewfest mount, the Ram, not the Kodo. I don't think I've ever received the Kodo. And I finally, in 2014, received my Headless Horseman's reins. That's my usual mount, as you can see up here, for flying around. I put some key mounts usually on here, like the Water Strider is a must half the time, as is my Traveler's Tundra Mammoth. Since then, I've now got the the yak that has transmog on it and whatnot. There's my permanent Aqua Quintessence. Bunch of original WoW anniversaries and whatnot. The Diablo anniversary. I remember doing a lot of South Shore versus Taran Mill. A lot of it. Most of my stuff that I unlocked was actually done by my priest back in the day. I'll get onto him next, I'm sure. Yeah, a lot of anniversaries and whatnot. The Fall of Theramore. Operation Nomergon. I remember that one. It had catchy music to go with it. Tabard of the Argent Dawn from the Scourge Invasion. Oh, I loved those Scourge Invasion events. The second one, the bigger, better one, was just a rehash of the original one from the Nax launch, but I think this is for the newer one that they did later on for Wrath of the Lich King. The Competitors, Tabard, and the Spirit of Competition pet. Don't know how many people remember that. I think that was done during the Olympics or whatnot. I never did this. Oh well. Anywho, I'll hop on to another character here. Next character I ever created was to play alongside my uncle on Paladin. Of course, my uncle started to lose interest in the game towards late vanilla, so we stopped playing together. Ever since then, I've either been playing solo-ish, or just with a handful of friends that enjoyed watching the game when they saw me playing it, and they picked it up themselves. I've had friends come and go from the game over the years, but myself and one other friend have mostly played throughout the entire run of the game. I've taken 3 or 4 breaks from WoW for anywhere from a few months to over a year. Alright, let's head to a bank. And no, my sword is not... What? Yeah, I still have Ashbringer, don't I? It's just gonna be from a quest pretty, broken, I hear? Oh yeah, it's already losing everything. Or it has lost everything, I should say. I just transmogged it like this sword. I thought it was pretty neat looking. Alrighty.
Light be with you.
So let's see what else I got here. You'll notice this. The Holy Might Stone. How many people recognize what that is? And that is from a Paladin-only quest from Vanilla. It was a high-end one, like around level 60 or so. And one of the rewards at the end of it was this. And at the time, the bonus it granted you was actually pretty massive. And I was one of those people who just kept holding on to it for a moment when, you know, I'd get into a fight where we'd really, really need the extra boost in DPS or whatever, or healing. And I just never, ever found that moment that I felt I needed to use it. And ever since then, like ever since Burning Crusade launched, it's basically been almost useless, and I've just kept holding on to it for nostalgia's sake. I don't know how many people out there might still have this item. Spectral Essence, used to talk to the ghosts around Stratholm, or no, Skullomance, that's it. I think this, you can find special vendors with this back in the day and for a certain quest. Drakefire Amulet again. Bunch of other random stuff. I'll just close those out. I think I cleared most of this, actually. My Paladin, mostly, I brought him out in Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King as a raiding character. I always played as Prot, and Prot was on a pally, was absolutely useless in vanilla, And at the beginning of Burning Crusade, it started to show some semblance of an actual tanking class, but wasn't quite that good yet. But I found some areas in Karazhan that proved that a paladin, especially against undead and demon opponents, could be worth their salt. And then later on throughout that expansion, paladins became more and more viable as tanks, and I actually ended up moving from second healer to primary tank for our raiding group at one point, and I had a blast tanking as a paladin in both BC and Wrath. Like, it was always my first choice for a tank. I for some reason never liked tanking as a warrior. And yeah, that's about it for him. He doesn't have too much to showcase, I guess, as I've probably moved a lot of things off of him over the years. But like I said, one of the old items that many people will not either recognize or even have anymore is this item.
Light bless you.
This next character is the one I spent the bulk of my Warcraft career on. I got a little bit bored of just playing the two characters. I liked a little bit of variety, so I started playing a Holy Priest, leveling as a Holy Priest in Vanilla WoW. It was slow, but I didn't mind it in the slightest. And right around when I was questing in Westfall, I started to get a lot of people whispering my character, or just a /say around me, asking if I could group with them and just give them a hand on quests. They could kill things faster than me, and I could keep us both alive, and we wouldn't have to stop after every second kill to eat and drink and get our reserves back up. Because I remember that being a thing in Vanilla. And, yeah, I ended up getting invited to a lot of groups to the Dead Mines, or just areas around the Dead Mines, or inside the caves, I guess, where there's tons of elites, and you're trying to complete some of those pre-Dead Mine quests. And next thing you know, I'm getting tons of friend requests and guild invites and whatnot. Although I kept declining the guild invites, I had no one left who was a friend in the game. Like, my uncle quit playing, and none of my friends had started playing yet at this point. And I just didn't feel like being social in the game. I just wanted to play it as a solo player. And it took me until level 32 on my Holy Priest to finally accept a guild invite. Of all the people who kept asking me for help and constantly grouping with me and whatnot, there was a steady group of about 20 people who were always asking for my help. And it turned out that about a dozen of them were all in the same guild, and they just kept spreading word about this Holy Priest who was good at the game. They liked me. They thought I was better than most pug Holy Priests. So I eventually bit the bullet and I joined a guild, and yeah, we grouped together from then on all the way through until our guild broke up in late Burning Crusade. But throughout the main run of Vanilla WoW, we did every dungeon together, every raid. We were in the top 10 of the raiding guilds on Elder Thalos at one point. We were well known on the server. If other guilds are having difficulties, sometimes they would ask a few of us to come in and consult for them during the raid, or even if we didn't have enough members on one night, other guilds would gladly send some of their top members to us in the hopes of getting a little more experience and a little bit more gear if they had the DKP points with us. We kept track of other outside of guild members' DKP points, because a lot of regulars from outside the guild would quest with us and raid with us. And yeah, I had a blast with all my friends. We had so many fond memories throughout this game. But I'll start to head to the bank here right away. And once I started doing all that busy stuff, endgame stuff on my priest, I never had much time to start other characters. So a lot of my other characters past my priest were almost a year into the game. Wonder what my /played is on him. Grand total time spent at my computer playing this character is 81 days and a little more. That might sound like a lot to some, but I'm sure to some of you it's absolutely nothing, especially if you're one of those people who focuses on one character.
Well met.
Void Crystals, etc. Violet Signet. This was a set that I went out of my way to get when Anchorage opened up. Some of the stuff on it has changed. I remember this having mana regen, or mana per 4? Mana per 5? Whatever it was.
Be careful.
I found out even when we were in Molten Core and Onyxia's Lair, I was one of our best healers for the sheer amount of healing I could do, but I started to notice the benefits of mana regen gear, and I started to sacrifice a little bit of my healing, and we were early enough at this point still in some raids like Blackwing Lair that we required 2 healers on the main tank. And after a while, my heals were still strong enough, and I was regenerating fast enough that we didn't have to alternate heals between the 2 main healers on the main tank, that we were able to free up the second main healer to other tanks and just random raid members. And I was able to just solo heal our main tank when we were in Blackwing Lair, when we were just barely geared for it. So it really was a nice boon for our guild to get ahead. And after a while, a lot of our other priests and druid healers started to see the benefits of mana regen gear, and we started to switch that way, and it really changed our end game for us at the time. Instead of just focusing on pure heal power, which used to be a thing, I don't think it exists anymore. Spell power is the only buff, like enchant, I guess, you can get. Earthcalm Orb, I think that was purchased from some sort of Cenarian rep or something. Back when, yes, fire resistance on this. There was a lot of fire resist gear that was required for a lot of those beginning raids. There was a lot of fire damage that you had to deal with. And I think there was even a mob in Ubers, Upper Blackrock Spire, that if you mind controlled it with a priest, you could have it buff the other people in your group. And since Ubers counts as a raid that goes up to, it was either 10 or 15 people back in the day, you could buff a fair chunk of your raid at once and then quickly hop in and do a boss before the buff wore off. Hourglass Sand used in the fight against Chromagus or Chromagus, whatever you want to call him. The second tier set for priests, I started to collect a lot of that one. I had a lot of the Prophecy set as well. I think I did have the whole thing, but I've since vendored a few of them in favor of Transcendence gear, and then I regretted it later on because that was nice legacy gear to just kind of hold on to. Another toy I can get rid of. Oh man, I forgot about this weird item. Guaranteed to make everyone look more attractive. I don't even remember how this works. Let's find out. Wait, does it make everyone a gnome? Yeah, it's made by a gnome, isn't it? Okay. That's what that does again. More of my resist gear that I wore. I think this used to have a fair amount of mana regen on it as well. I used a wand for quite a while in raiding. Ancient artifacts. I think you use those for Bronze Dragonflight type rep. Sands of Time. No, not Sands of Time. Whatever the rep was for the Encourage thing, because there were dragons trapped inside there. It's a bunch of enchanting stuff and tailoring stuff that was somewhat rare-ish, or at least uncommon. Bunch of resists for the raids that I was doing. Golden Pearls, I remember people... Wait, no, not Golden Pearls. Righteous Orbs is what I'm thinking of. Righteous Orbs looked a bit like this one here, the Small Lustrous Pearl. They were highly sought after in Stratholme. Lot of people would fight over those when they dropped. You could either sell them for a good chunk or you just needed them for your crafting. Rune of the Dawn. Oh, that was the fully upgraded version of the Royal Seal. My original insignia. Brilliant chromatic scales. I had to use those to make certain items. I think I ended up making a couple items for my hunter with this. Or he made them himself, and I just traded them. Some more of my gear. The Onyxia scale cloak, obviously, so I didn't get completely destroyed by several of those dragons in Blackwing Lair. Spectral essence, of course. Fellcloth. Used to farm a lot of that for making bags and some gear for warlocks and other mages and whatnot. Smoked sagefish with the mana. Oh yeah, there, I could see finally something that lists mana per 5. Agent of Nosdormu. I think this was for the event before Anchorage or something. You had to use it for gathering those war supplies where the Alliance and Horde had to work together, I think. And I played a lot, and one of my friends got this, so he gifted it to me so I could also collect. Bunch more of that stuff. Yeah, so my priest has had quite the history, and of course, oh, I think I have it stored in the void storage right now. Don't know where the void storage is, if there is one in Dalaran. Wonder if... But, anyways, you can see I have it transmogged here. Let me see if a guard knows where void storage is. Transmog area should show. Should have a void storage person there. I keep forgetting void storage is a thing. That's it. In the enchanting? Transmog. Yeah, I'll have to check that out another time. I was going to just demonstrate Benediction and Anathema, and I think it's in my void storage. I haven't really looked. Unless I still have it on me, because back at the time, back at one point... Ah, here it is. Because at one point, I think, in order to get a transmog effect, you had to keep it on you. Gonna have to wait for it to cool down. Just want to showcase it for someone who's never seen it before. I used to like using this, but I think on occasion I would actually switch to the Anathema version because it also had mana per 5 on it, and I found it to be a little bit more beneficial than just the extra healing that used to be enchanted on it. My enchant apparently has switched to 35 attack power. There we go. That's what Anathema looks like. Now, mana regen on it, I guess, has been switched to versatility. But in the meantime, I'll just switch back. And I'll quickly log out. Those were my 3 most used characters back in the day. My mage, Killzor. Yes, another original name alongside Helor. But the only one at the beginning I put a little bit of thought into was Scourgebane. And even that's not much, I guess, huh? That was very original Lochlore. My Worgen warrior, Furry warrior, who was also a Fury warrior. Another goofy, stupid name I made up. A Draenei shaman, I decided to try a little, Sharena. And Terrestria for my druid. Unique name, Zilukun for my Death Knight. My monk, I came up with another stupid name, and like an old Bruce Lee movie, I think Way of the Fist, I decided to call this Way of the Paw. My demon hunter, I called him Fellarash. Instead of, you know, something like some variation of Illidan. At least I didn't start up with an elven hunter and call him some variation of Legolas. Most of the rest of my characters haven't had as much of a history. My mage I did play a lot of in Burning Crusade, more than I did my paladin. I did a lot of arena and battlegrounds and just all sorts of PvP. I ended up with a full gladiators set, including that one staff, I think it was red, similar to this, except the crystals were bigger on the ends. I really enjoyed doing a lot of PvP and arena, like just arena and battlegrounds on them back in the day. That was a lot of fun. And then anything beyond Feller Ash is just boosted characters that I got for free from other things, like I think pre-purchasing expansions, and then just a couple of allied races. As you can tell, I am mostly Alliance. In fact, I think this is entirely... Oh wait, I do have a Horde character, a couple Horde characters here. Well, not this one, but my Horde server is not as used. I do play mostly Horde on Nezingwary. The reason I do is because at one point there was a free transfer for if you had too many characters and you wanted to start a new one, but you had no room. There was a free transfer from Elder Thalos to Nezingwary at one point. Now Elder Thalos is linked with Corielstraz, so I'll add a few characters on there from on occasion, and just a few other random ones. Used to be PvP servers, some of these. Those don't exist anymore, as you can opt in and out. Nezingwary, you'll see I haven't actually committed too much to the Horde. I did do a fair bit of playing in Wrath and whatnot, so you'll see I do have some characters in the 80s here. But beyond that, some of these are just brand new started, or boosted character. And I never did get far with some of these. But in the meantime, I hope you were interested and at least enjoyed watching a little bit of a showcase of a vanilla WoW account that's just got a few interesting things that some people might not even remember from back in the day. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and if you did enjoy, I do plan on doing some level up videos, or just questing videos, or even live streams now that I've reactivated my WoW account today. If you enjoy, just please, it would help me out if you drop a subscribe. I'd appreciate it very much. Alright, catch you next time. Take care.